The Mark Jeffrey podcast is part of Britpod Scene, an independent network of uniquely British podcasts that's always growing. Check out BritpodScene.com or follow Britpod Scene on Twitter to find out more.
Hello and welcome to the Mark Jeffrey podcast show. This is episode 29, recorded September the 21st, 2017, from the studio on the hill, southwest UK, not a million miles from London. Episode 29 was once again proudly brought to you by MPC Solutions for all your computering needs. Yo, what the frickin' hell's up, podcasters? Thank you for joining me once again. How the devil has your week been, hey? Me and Liam, we got together on Monday night and we recorded what I consider to be the best podcast that we have ever done. Just me and him talking about things that needed to be really discussed. Talked about footballers and their ingrowing hair follicles. We talked about the new iPhone and technology and all that sort of gubbins. We talked Portuguese men of war, nutters, and giant fatburgs. That's right, giant fatburgs. We really did chew on the fat in this episode, and if that wasn't enough, we had two songs performed by two separate artists, two separate promoters. Oh my God, it is really happening. And it's nearly 1 hour long, this episode, so I dare you to listen to the frickin' lot. So go grab that glass of your favourite, kick off those shoes, and sit on your favourite chair. Let's get ready to podcast.
The Mark Jeffrey Podcast Show.
God damn, Liam. Do you know what? I never actually thought that we was going to get down to recording this week's podcast. It's been one of those crazy days. It is really been manic. I haven't stopped. Been to work, come home today, running around like a crazy man, running around. We're here at last. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
It's been your long weekend this weekend, hasn't it? What have you been up to? Anything interesting?
Certainly has. Bit more music, a little bit of alcohol, not quite as much as usual.
Get away. I bet you've been shoveling it back your gullet.
Yeah, well, a little bit.
Is that what you've been doing? Drinking?
Yeah, a bit of a relaxed one.
Did you try any new drinks this week? Anything
Not
nice?
Music. Did I try any new drinks? No, just a couple of usual ones. Menadu.
Menadu?
Menadu.
What the hell is that? What
that
the
is
fucking hell is that?
You would like that one. That is it's a Cornish brewery one. And it's, do you know what? It's mental.
Oh, it's an ale, is it?
But it is it's more like a stout or a sweeter stout kind of yeah.
You would
like it.
I had a new beer this weekend, but I can't remember what it was called. It was down on my campsite, and it was by Padstow Brewery, and I think it was called Mayday.
Okay.
And it was a very citrusy drink.
Oh,
right. Bloody beautiful, mate.
I do like a citrusy drink. Yeah.
Yeah. I spent the weekend down the caravan, and got down there on Saturday, and it was absolutely lashing it down.
Was it?
It was absolutely teaming it down. And we've been saying it's been recently it's now autumn here in the UK, and it's been all of a sudden, bang, it's hit us, isn't it? It's been like summer's finished and autumn is here. But on Sunday, it was actually a really, really nice day.
We've had some nice days, I must admit. We've had some sunny days.
But I went onto the beach. We went to Trianum Beach on Sunday, and it was one of those days where you was on the beach. The beach was empty. All the schools have gone back, so the touristy people have gone away. And we was on the beach, and it was warm. It wasn't hot. It was warm, and it was like it was a bizarre situation. Normally when you're on the beach cooking yourself, whacking all the suntan cream on, but it wasn't like that. It was t-shirt weather, but it was really, really enjoyable day we had down there.
My kind of weather.
Yeah, it was really nice. Prior to us getting down there, though, they had issues with weaver fish. Now, have you any idea what a weaver fish is?
I've heard of them, and I've heard of the injuries that they cause.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's a fish that's around the world. I mean, I know the animals in this country are nothing compared to some of the animals that you get like in the rest of the broad. If you get a spider over in this country, over in Australia, they go, that ain't a bloody spider, mate. This is a spider. We got redback spiders over here, big great kick-ass spiders, so it's not a fish that's going to sting you and kill you. But what it does is it buries underneath the sand. When the tide comes in, it buries underneath the sand and it sticks like a little spike up out of the sand. I don't know why it does it. I mean, why do you freaking stick a spike out the sand? I don't know what it's for. But so fat Cornish people like me can stand on them and then think you've stood on glass. And bloody hurts. My dad stood on a weaver fish. I haven't, but they bloody hurt apparently.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it says that the sting's much worse than a bee or a wasp. So it's obviously to catch prey, isn't it, or to attack.
Well, my dad stood on one and he said that it was when he first came down in Cornwall many moons ago, and he said it was like standing on a piece of glass. He stood on a piece of glass and he went up to the lifeguard and said, I've stood on a piece of glass, and the lifeguard said, that ain't glass, mate, that's a weaver fish. And there's two ways of dealing with it apparently. You can either urinate on it, or you can put your foot in a bucket of red hot boiling water with salt, and apparently it draws the sting out.
I'd go with the first one, to be honest with you.
You're taking a piss, aren't you? So two people got stung on the beach down at Trianon by these weaver fish. And also just around the corner is a beach called Perranporth, and there's been reported signs of Portuguese men of war.
Okay, they're supposed to be fairly nasty, aren't they?
Well, they are, yeah. They're similar, aren't they? They're jellyfish, but these things, if it stings the wrong person, can be quite dangerous.
I think they can kill, can't they, with the shock and the reaction that they can give.
So why are all of these beasties all of a sudden coming to the UK? Like, so you got weaver fish, you got the Portuguese men of war. Like Portuguese men of war. How often do they come into the country? Is it sort of like a Brexit thing? Are they trying to get in now before they can't get in, sort of thing?
Must be the temperature. Must be fairly warm out in them waters.
Oh yeah. Talking of beasties, right? What is the one thing with your job, you and me doing a postie? What is the one thing, right, that pisses you off the most in your job?
Well, I know what you're going to say, so I don't want to say the same thing. I'll let you go first.
Go on. With me, it is beasties. It's that time of year now, spiders. Now, you might be thinking, what am I talking about? Spiders, really, you imagine you're walking down the drive or anywhere where there's two trees, you guarantee there's a spider on a spider's web right in your line of sight. And how many times, Liam, do you walk down that path and you just get covered in spider's web? And then you think, where is the little bugger? Where is he? Is he on me?
It's something you don't realise till you do a delivery job. Every single flipping house you're walking down, you're getting covered. And you look mildly insane walking down, just combing your head, trying to get everything out of you, and you've got a spider walking down across your face as you knocking on a door.
Well, I'm hunting the buggers down now. I'd say when I walk down a drive, I'm eyeing them up, and if I see one, how do you normally deal with it then? If you're walking down a path and you see a spider on a spider's web, what do you normally do?
I realised the other day that it looked quite like I was trying to dodge laser beams to get into a museum. I was just going under low, and then I looked back and realised there was people watching.
See, I do the opposite thing, me. I roll the post up and I hit the spider, bang. And I tell you, when you hit these spiders, right, you do look a fool, but they don't have to make a noise when you hit these spiders. Now, if you imagine it, if you was a spider and somebody hit you with the equivalent of a big, like, rolled up newspaper across the head and you fell on the floor, it would knock you out and kill you, wouldn't it? Not a spider. You crack a spider across the head with a large item of mail, right? It just falls on the floor and just runs into the nearest bush.
It remembers you,
and
mate.
It remembers you for the next day, and it will put that. I mean, are they a little bit simple or something? Because they always put the web up in the same bloody place
without planning permission,
or do they? Because I've noticed that on my post run, they're going higher and higher. Because you'd be pretty pissed off, wouldn't you, if you spent all day making that web.
Do you know what?
And then some fat postman comes the next day and walks right through all the hard work you've done.
Part of me feels sad when I walk through. I think, that's the best part of 24 hours they spent doing that.
Bloody things, I hate spiders.
Yeah.
They've started coming in the caravan now. These, it's the
same ones, mate.
It's starting to get cold now, isn't it? And they're starting to come into the warm. And it's just my job now when we get down the caravan is getting rid of all these bloody spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spiders. Do you realise that spiders apparently have got 8? And now you're might have to look this up at some time, right? But I heard
Sounds like a pub fact.
well, it is. I think I heard years ago that spiders have 8 penises, and they have 1 on every knee. I want you to have a look that up, Liam, and see. Just type in on your thing, how many penises has a spider got? And I haven't got a clue what might come up. And I don't know whether it's true or not, but it was one of those bits of pointless information that once upon a time I did hear. Are you having a look there? See, as it says? Do spiders...
Kind of wishing I hadn't typed this in now.
What have you got come up on my internet?
I've been blocked.
Am I right?
Let's have a look.
How many spiders...
I don't know.
How many penises has a spider got?
It probably has never been asked that question before.
Well, somebody must know. And how do people know how many penises a spider's got?
I just
when
find myself typing in spider penis. What's that going to get me?
It'll get you booted off our internet. That's what it would do. You found anything?
It says no. Do you know what?
You can't find anything.
All it's got is about Australian man gets bitten on penis by spider.
Brilliant, fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what. If you're at home now and you know about spiders, what's a person called that studies spiders? Arachnid tithead or something like that? Would it be? I don't know. But if you're somebody at home that knows anything about spiders, I want you to get in contact with me, jaff10@hotmail.com, and say, "Here, Jaff, a spider has how many penises has a spider got?" Get in contact with me and tell me. It'd be interesting for next week. The car's broken down again, Liam.
Oh,
yeah.
This is beginning to be a regular section of this. We could have a theme tune for this now.
Ding, 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 ding.
What's gone wrong? What's gone wrong?
Jeff's car's broke down again. What's freaking happened?
What's wrong this week, Jeff?
Well, what happened, mate, is I got in the car this morning. First of all, it wouldn't start. And then I did get it started. And then I couldn't do the freaking window up. So the window's been down. So you can't really park it anywhere because it's just an open invitation for skagheads to come in and nick your CDs and your stash
and your
of
mini
weed
discs
that you've got on the seat or anything like that. So I've had to leave. I've decided that it's possibly about time that I got rid of the Shazza, my Golf convertible. She's 17 years old now. And
she should know better, really.
Well, the reason really, I mean, my dad's just got a new car. He's just bought a Honda Jazz, and it's an old man's car. Like, it comes free with the flies stuck to the back window because the flies fly faster than what you drive.
I thought you were going to say a magazine.
And it comes free with like a flat cap for the back parcel shelf.
But they'll outlive everybody on this planet. That's the thing. They keep going. The Honda Jazz.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate. I got into Dad's car on Saturday night when he took us down the pub, and I sort of like went into a time warp and started dreaming about how crazy technology actually has. Because this car that my dad's got now, it is an old man's car, but bloody, it's got a lot of shit in it. I'll tell you, little things like you don't anymore have to worry about lights. Now, this might be old technology for you at home, but for me, driving a 17-year-old car, this is big news. My dad's got this
barely
car.
got lights.
Yeah. You get in the car and you drive down the road and you don't have to worry about the lights. They come on automatically, right? You drive down the road and if a car's coming the other way, your lights automatically dip for you.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
so you don't have to worry about main beams in your face and stuff like that.
I didn't know that existed, to be fair. That's quite cool.
Also, if you're driving along the road and the car in front decides to stop, then it will stop your car automatically.
So it applies the brakes.
It applies the brakes.
Oh, man.
If you go across the centre cap size, the lines in the road, an alarm will go off.
Really?
So it will tell you, obviously, that if you're falling asleep on the motorway, an alarm will go.
Scream at you.
So it's got all of this technology, and I was beginning to think, well, there's me driving around with a car where the windows don't close properly. It's about time that I am having to get a new car. But the problem is, it's like cars are so freaking expensive, aren't they? And it's just like, what do I do? Do I go out and spend £1,000 on another car that's going to be as crap as the one I've got? Or do I buy a new car? So my mission for tonight is, after I've done this podcast, is to look at and to see the cheapest, smallest, brand new car that I can buy on the market, and I'm going to go out there and buy it.
There's a lot of cars about, mate. A lot of little ones.
Yeah, but
decent ones.
I mean, still, you're looking at about $9,000 for a small car. It's a lot of bloody money, mate.
It's a problem, mate. Yeah.
But hasn't technology gone crazy?
Yeah, mate. It's evolved.
I mean,
even on our lifetime, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what I was coming to. I mean, I'm 40 now, and I can remember when I was in school. Can you remember the old massive BBC computers that we used to have?
Yeah, primary school. That's what I started with, like in 92, 90. That's what you had. The bigs, like the Amstrad stuff.
Big floppy disks. Remember that? Was it a floppy disk they used to call it back then? The real big thing with a round bit in the middle.
Like basic games, and when you wanted to print something, it was on it looked like a prescription script.
And I grew up with a Spectrum computer that would take about 15 minutes sometimes to load a game. And you just get to the end, and that bloody R-tape loading error would come up, and it would crash. And you're like, right, and then an R-tape loading error would come up, and you'd have to start all over again. Remember that? Commodores and Spectrums loading from tape.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of towards the end of when I was growing up, and then I can remember one of the biggest things I started playing was the PlayStation 1. That makes me feel old, thinking that I remember the PlayStation 1.
I'm going back a long way before then. When that PlayStation 1 came out, that was massive, man. Oh, man. That was huge, I don't
think it's ever been beaten, really, for what it is, isn't it? The change between, Sony just coming up with...
That was a little bit like when you had the Spectrum and you had the Commodore, and then all of a sudden, I think before then, the hugest thing to come out of computering was the Atari, I think it was, and it was like a doorstep, a little black door wedge, and it was either the Atari, I'm pretty sure it was the Atari, and you had two little joysticks, right, and you had little cartridges that you slotted in. Now, I don't know if that was before... it was before Spectrum. It was one of the first computers to ever come out. And you had that game, it was like a tennis game where you play your mate and it go... Beep. Dong. Boop. Dong.
And it's so basic now, but you can imagine having nothing before that and just sitting down and being able to play something like that.
Yeah. So what I'm saying
it's come on a long way.
What is it going to be like in another 30 years' time? It's bloody scary, isn't it?
Well, I think the VR headsets and all the virtual reality, because they've gone through since like the 50s and 60s with 3D stuff, and they've been trying to get people into all this kind of different coloured lenses, and it's never really taken off. And on TV, it's never 3D. Cinema's all right, and it's
scaring me.
But
it is scary.
Virtual reality, mate.
Are we going to actually have one of those like Terminator eras where, if cars are driving themselves now, you've got robots that are doing stuff. Are we going to be ending up having sex with robots? And how long is it going to be before?
Changes the subject.
How long
completely.
is it going to be before we're not needed anymore,
mate?
It's quite scary.
We could be creating our own, people that are or own
sex people,
sex people, Lynn.
Yeah, wicked sex people. But and can you remember, like, it wasn't that long ago, I'm talking about probably about 15 years ago, when we used to have dial-up internet. Remember that?
Yeah. Do you know what? I do, and I remember, like,
Liam, get off the internet. I can't use the phone.
But it seems strange, doesn't it? And then
did your mum used to say that to you?
Isn't that many years?
Get off watching that porn. I'm on the phone.
Just waiting for it to load, the slowest thing. But yeah, it's like 15 years ago. The internet isn't that old, really.
No.
When you think about it, with the most basic pages, I can remember at school, everyone huddling around the computer. Again, that makes me feel old. But doing your like projects and stuff, and it was cool. We didn't even go on the internet; it was just doing stuff on Word, and it was a clip art.
What's your first memories of internet then? Because my first memories of the internet was we went to my mate Doug's house, and
Doug.
Nobody had internet, but he did, and he had a webcam. Right?
Did he?
So we was like 15, 16, and we was going to try and see how many birds we could get their kits off. So there's me and Doug and my mate George and Sean, and we're all in the front room. We're all in his bedroom, right? And we're on this site. I don't know what site it was, but there was all these birds that came up on the screen, and they see a load of lads in a room. And they just cut off. And we're like, what can we do? What can we do? So me and my cousin Sean got into bed, right? And he put a wig on, and I had my legs hanging at the bottom of the bed, and we was trying to make it look like there was two, a male and a female in bed, trying to get these women to get their kits off and stuff like that. And they're all saying, why's your missus got hairy legs and stuff like that. But that was my first memory of the internet, was us lads, you know, us sexually deprived lads at the age of 16 trying to get these women naked, pretending to be couples. Yeah. Did you ever do anything like that?
Not quite like that.
What was your first memory of the internet then?
Just at school. It's just boring stuff. But yeah, just thinking it is I remember they gave out like a guidebook to the internet, like at school, and you just had like a list of, and it must have only been 20 websites, but it felt like it was the only 20 websites that were on the internet. Probably were. It's
mad. I mean, how big is the internet? It's massive, isn't it?
It's bigger than even the creator, you know, that, I mean, it was set up to link like together information, you know, or, you know, data in offices and stuff like that. And it's been going since like the 70s.
But do they have like an internet janitor, if you know what I mean? Is there something
going around to sweep up?
Yeah, because I mean, you think every time you put something on the internet, that shit's there for years, isn't it? Does it just stay there? Does anybody ever like clear it up, wipe it off?
I think that's the problem. Every single country seems to have its own way of dealing with the internet, doesn't it? Some countries won't allow its people to see certain things. Some people is freer. Some things are blocked. It's very strange.
Because we used to, as kids, there used to be a site called rotten.com. Okay. Did you ever check that out?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know if that's still going now. I think it was banned after a while, but it was called Rotten, ROTTON.com. And it was things like people's heads that have been blown up and stuff like that, and people had taken pictures of it and all that sort of weird shit.
I remember there was a website that we always used to try and sneak on in the library. It was eBaum's World, it was called. And it just videos before YouTube and anything like that. And like weird cartoons that have been made, salad fingers and strange stuff.
See, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's not been, the internet is not that old. You look how it's evolved, you know, what is it going to be like? Because, I mean, obviously Facebook is massive. But prior to that, you had MySpace, didn't you?
Yeah.
Now, MySpace, does anybody use MySpace anymore?
Well, they relaunched, didn't they? They tried to make it cool again because it obviously dropped off.
I used to like MySpace.
MySpace was really good until Facebook. But MySpace has always been more of a like musician and artist thing. And they tried to kind of stick with that. But I don't think I think the hardcore artists and bands have stuck with it and probably gone with putting their stuff on everything, really. Facebook, MySpace, all of it. But it never really recovered.
But like anything that's on the internet, it all goes through that stages, doesn't it? So Facebook is freaking massive, but what's going to take over from Facebook and what's it going to be? It's you know what I mean?
It's funny. I was talking to someone the other day and we were asking, now Facebook obviously keeps people together, family can talk where they're thousands of miles apart. Does it actually do anything now? It's just gone a bit stagnant. It doesn't really, unless you've got a specific purpose. It's not as it was when you started off on it. It seems to be all the same things, like adverts and...
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it Mark Wahlberg? Is that his name? Bloke owns it?
Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Who's Mark Wahlberg? And he's that one off... I don't know who he is. But yeah, Mark Wahlberg, whatever he's called. He's obviously, you know, making billions, not millions, but billions of pounds from it. And the newest thing that he was trying to set up with Facebook was the old Facebook Live. You know, he's trying to get everybody going on the webcam now and doing stuff live. But I don't think that's been... Well, has it? Has it been as big as what he was expecting it to be?
I think they've jumped on board with everything, haven't they? And like they've linked in like Instagram. I'm not certain whether Instagram's owned by. I'm fairly sure it probably is, that they probably bought that as well. So they're bringing it all in house. But no, I went to school with. There was a girl, and she told us all the story one day that her brother had
went to band camp and stuck a flute up her pussy.
Pretty much.
Was it that girl?
I'd got together with a mate, and they wanted to create a music sharing site.
Yeah,
and they just sold it for millions, and it was Last FM.
Joking?
It was Last FM.
A friend of yours?
So it was, a girl that I did my A-levels with in Saltash Comp, brother. I mean, she just come in, and it was casually. he'd sold it. They decided to sell it on and made millions and millions and millions of pounds.
That's big news, man.
And Last FM, that's massive, and it has become massive.
Jesus, man.
But to come up, all it takes is one idea like that.
Should we start thinking of something? What could we do?
It's all been done, but we'll come up with something.
Well, Nikki came up with a good idea the other day, actually, about children that should be wearing bands around their arms, right? So that if they go off, you can tell where they are. And so say my son went off to the park, right? Now, I wouldn't let him go out of sight, but just say on the campsite down where I'm a campsite,
Yeah.
Say he went out of sight, you can text him. And it's like a pager. It'll be like, Zach, come back, and it'll be like something like that, Okay. And if a child gets kidnapped, then you would know exactly where they are. And there was another thing, if they fall in the water and start drowning, you get another alarm. That sort of thing, you know. That'd be quite a good idea, wouldn't it?
Do you know what the biggest?
No, don't you go copy my idea and copywriting it, you freaking thief.
The biggest,
but that'd be good, wouldn't it?
Biggest thing with technology is, as good as anything is, most of it can be hacked. In fact, just about everything. So when they talk about driverless cars, it can be hacked. How mad is that in the kind of current climate we live in, that someone could actually override a truck or something like that? It's all scary.
What about the new iPhone 10?
Yeah.
That's a bit crazy, isn't it? The new iPhone 10.
Yeah.
I mean, a grand?
It's about that, isn't it?
About £1,000 for a bloody phone.
Plus the extras and all the bits and pieces. How
is it is the iPhone 10, I think, isn't it?
iPhone X, is it? But it is the...
What? How is it any better than the last one that came out?
I guess...
It's got face recognition, isn't it?
I guess, yeah. And I guess people progress with it, don't they? They want that extra, that new thing, and they follow it, whatever. Any of the products. But I've never been a big... I like the phone. I like the mobile phone. It's handy to have around, and you can do bits and pieces. I never...
Frick me, mate. I'll tell you what, for £1,000, I don't want it to cook me bloody tea.
I want a flipping call box that follows me around with an operator.
Definitely right. Definitely, mate. Anyway, should we put a tune on?
Why not, sir?
Let's have a listen to this one, shall we?
Simply lovely.
There's a promise in my compromise when I write these lyrics to you. And every verse is a verse from my heart to the pen to you. But we're through. Now I'm just shattered pieces, but you were always on my mind. Keep me awake for ages. All of for you stressed to the night. Now I'm just shattered pieces, but you were always on my mind. Keep me awake for ages. All of for you stressed to the nines. Now I'm just shattered pieces, and you were always on my mind. Keep me awake for ages. My love for you stressed to the nines. Now I'm just shattered pieces, but you were always on my mind. Keep me awake for ages. My love for you stressed to the nines. Now I'm just shattered pieces, but you were always on my mind. Keep me awake for ages. My love for you stressed to the nines.
JJ Browning on guitar, Scott McEwen on the bass, Andy Clark on drums. They are Caffeine. Now, back in the early noughties, Caffeine toured the world with bands such as Offspring, Blink-182, to name a few, and played in arenas such as Wembley and Glasgow. And do you know what? They even toured the US 5 freaking times. So it is an absolute honour to give to you their first release in nearly a decade. Now, released by Supersonic Media, sent in to me by Neil Atkinson, that was Dressed to the Nines. And I do believe it is out on September the 22nd. So, for more info, please look them up on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Caffeine UK/. Check out their music at iTunes, Amazon, Spotify. Come on, guys, you know this by now. And check out all of my show description notes for all of those links. Yeah, bloody fantastic. That was lovely. Now, what have you got there, Liam, in that little pouch?
Oh, which one?
The pouch.
Oh, no, it's all legal, listeners.
It's all legal.
Come on.
And that big, it looks like a big bag of weed that
Got
you've brought.
some coffee.
I'll tell you what, bloody nice. It smells amazing.
Have a whiff again.
Oh, I'll tell you, there's nothing better than fresh coffee. I mean, a friend of mine, he grinds his beans, but like you were saying earlier on, it's just too much of a ball ache, isn't it?
Well, if you want it's a compromise, isn't it? Having it already ground, but yeah, no, I've always liked coffee. Well, I've got into coffee a bit more, but I signed up for a mail order coffee thing. So they send
it's
you.
Called fuckcoffee.com.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Yeah, fuck coffee. See,
yeah,
but,
no, I see what you did.
Yeah. So it's good, man. It's good. You got that. What coffee is it? What we got this week? I reckon we should have like coffee of the week every week. You bring me in a coffee.
We'll bring it in every time we get a new one.
It'd be really boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll like it. It's fruit and nut espresso.
Fruit and nut chocolate bar coffee
it's
cake.
From Brazil, Guatemala.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
It is. We did try a little bit earlier on.
Yeah.
And also, mate, this is what I've got something for you now. I did my vapor has come. My vapor machine, my Innokin Cool Fire 4. Check that out.
Sounds like an advert.
Check it out. You press it 3 times like that, and then you go.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's vape.
That's vapor. That's vapor.
Just press that button
and just breathe in.
That what you're doing there, mate, is called cherry ice, and to me, it tastes like cherry.
Can you tell
tunes.
I've never done that before?
It tastes like cherry tunes, doesn't it?
That's all right.
Yeah, do you like that shit?
It's all right, mate.
Yeah,
it's better than smoking.
Yeah, and to what we was talking about last week, we were saying about going down the pub and smoking that there has not got anything in it at all. It's got no nicotine. It's got no nothing in it. All it is just flavouring.
Vapor. Yeah.
Flavouring. So it's not doing you any harm at all, really.
No.
Supposedly. So we'll say if I'm dead next week, then we know that it has actually done some shit and I'm actually dead. But so that was the Innokin Cool Fire, and smoking this week is e-liquid cherry ice.
You make it sound like you're going to try a different one on air every single week.
We'll do it. We'll do it,
shall we?
Yeah. Now,
coffee and vaping. Last
week we was talking about how crazy the UK has gone at the moment. We was talking about, celebrities getting a hard time for doing stuff that they possibly done 13 years ago, and it was all caught on camera.
Yeah.
Now Nikki wanted me to tell you at home about something that she read, and it's by a mental health committee have made loads of people have been making complaints or something. You've got all the details in front of you there, Liam. You can tell us a little bit more. And it's about is it Aldi have brought out some chocolate called Nutters.
I think it's Poundland.
Poundland, is it?
Poundland basically they've been in the news a fair bit recently for copying in the UK the big brands and making their own brands up and calling them something very similar and making them look pretty much identical, but not as much so that they'll be sued. So it's basically, we can say an M&M copy.
Yeah,
really.
Not M&M as in the rapper, but M&M as in the chocolate sweets.
Yes, this is the real Slim Shady.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're called Nutters, and
just sweets called Nutters.
And in the UK,
if you're a mentalist,
well,
your class is a nutter.
They kind of it's taken on the casual reference of someone who maybe isn't, maybe suffering with some mental health problems.
Liam's the polite one. I would just basically say, when you're walking down the street and you see that one that's having a bit of a, a spaz attack or something like that, we call him a nutter, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. But they've had quite a few complaints, and by quite a few, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands. I think it's about
hundreds and thousands is what you put on cakes.
Oh yeah, no, they're also being sued. No, but I mean, I'm not saying that they've chosen the name to cause controversy, and now they've got their own publicity, haven't they?
Well, it's just sweets with nuts in, and they've tried linking it to that same, if you get, just linking it down that route, and it's just, there's some crazy, literally some crazy idiot out there that's got nothing better to do with their time than say, oh, I'm going to report them to the mental health authority because they're calling their sweets nutters, and my son's a nutter and I'm taking offence. Now, piss off.
But you see what I mean? They've now got one of the biggest PR campaigns.
Exactly, yeah.
And people are going to go in and just say, I want to see what the fuss is about, and realise that it's actually cheaper, exactly the same M&M that costs more than half the price of the... I think, yeah.
Perhaps we should change this podcast to Marc and Liam, the total bunch of tossing notters podcast.
I think it's already true, though, isn't it?
Very true, very true. So that was something that Nikki wanted me to talk about quickly there.
Yep.
And there's also a couple of other little things that I dug out off the net this week, and it did make me chuckle. Real Madrid, during the week, I can't remember what football team they played, but there's a chap, and now you know what I'm like for names. I'm terrible for getting people's names wrong. But I think he's a midfielder for Real Madrid, and his name is Marco Asensio, I think. Marco Asensio. Now, he could not play this week. Now, bearing in mind, this bloke is on shed loads of money for being a professional footballer. But this week, he could not play football because he shaved his legs prior to the game, and he got an infected leg follicle, infected hair follicle in his leg, and he was unable to pull his socks up, so he could not play football for Real Madrid. And he's been getting quite a bit of bad press and people calling him a wussy and all stuff like that, basically.
And pretty much in the public eye, Roy Keane,
ex-Manchester United hard man,
and is now a pundit or a football commentator, pretty much ripped him apart and basically said what most people think: for all that money,
get on with it,
shaving leg problem.
But the problem over in Spain, though, Liam, over in Spain, the men over in Spain are renowned for shaving all of their body. They shave their chests, their backs, their legs, their arms,
different
everywhere.
Cultures, different, yeah.
So, you are going to get infected hair follicles, but to stop you playing football because you can't play, you're asking for trouble, isn't it? Really, to be fair. Do you shave any body parts at all? No? Should do, you great hairy beast. Now, talking of hairy things as well, while on the subject, another thing that I read up about was the giant Fatburg. The giant Fatburg. Now, apparently, under the streets of London,
coming to a sewer near you,
is the giant Fatburg. Now, apparently, parts of the Victorian underground sewage system of London are completely blocked. Right underneath Westminster, apparently, it's by the giant.
That's ironic.
Fatburg. Now, it isn't Boris Johnson stuck on the toilet. Liam, do you want to tell us what the giant Fatburg actually is?
Well, across the UK, but specifically in London, they've been finding they have problems with what they call Fatburgs.
Fatburg.
And it is just a build-up of, as it sounds, fat, wet wipes, nappies, tissues, and
tampons,
and other
condoms,
crap, literally.
Yeah.
And basically, the Victorian sewer system, which is the best and most complicated system underneath London, it actually can't cope with it. Can't cope with people washing, emptying their deep fat fryers down the sink and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a monster Fatburg, as we call it. And it weighs the same, believe it or not, as 11 double-decker buses and stretches the length of 2 football pitches.
See, I heard it was 4 football pitches.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. That is one hell of a long turd, isn't it? Imagine that. Imagine that, having a turd
But that's
2 football pitches long.
But I know
Made out of grease,
I know some
tampons, condoms, and pubic hair. It's the giant Fatburg.
But somebody has got to go down, or a team have got to open up sewages and manhole covers and go down and break that up. Can you imagine that?
Just that one word scares me, manhole.
Well, yeah.
Why was it called a manhole?
That's the cause of the problem, I think.
I'm going to get in that goddamn manhole and I'm going to smash a giant Fatburg.
You looked a bit evil when you said
What
that.
are you doing today, Liam, at work? Well, it's Monday. I'm going to go down a big manhole and smash a giant Fatburg.
Could be there for 2 years.
Have you heard how they're doing it though? They're going down. This is no shit. They're going down this sewer. No, they're going down there with shovels and pressure washers, and they're just literally smashing the crap out of this giant turd.
Shoveling shit. Is that what you're saying?
That's what they're doing. Honestly, sending dino rod. Have you seen on the internet in front of you there? You've got like a dino rod. You know when you have a turd and it gets blocked in your system. You know they send this like dino rod which is a company, and they send like this camera down, radio controlled camera, and it shows you where the blockage is. And they've actually filmed this giant thing, and it's just massive. It looks like the Titanic under the sewage system.
Do you know what? I'm fairly certain that Hollywood make a film about it by the end of the year.
The cinema near you, the giant Fatburg.
I wouldn't want to be standing further down when they do break it up.
Imagine that.
Oh no, it's coming.
Anyway, let's put another song on here now, shall we? Enough of the Fatburgs. And then after the song, we're going to be talking a little bit about the comments that you beautiful people at home have left me on iTunes. Here it is.
We had to see in the dark.
How's about that corker then? I knew that you'd love that one. That was the Blue Hour and their beautiful, beautiful song, Always. Simply, simply lovely. OMG, didn't it sound like Kate Bush, don't you think? Anyway, if you like that one, it is out on the 27th of October and you can find it on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Guys, you know where it's all at now. Go and look them up, hashtag the Blue Hour, and I will put all the links to their page on my show description notes. So go and check them out.
The Mark Jeffrey podcast is part of Britpod Scene, an independent network of uniquely British podcasts that's always growing. Check out BritpodScene.com or follow Britpod Scene on Twitter to find out more.
Fatburg, at a cinema near you. Hey?
Yeah, that could happen.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about comments now that have been left at me on iTunes. For the last, 4 or 5 weeks, I've been asking you beautiful people to leave me some comments on iTunes, because by leaving comments on iTunes, it helps to grow this podcast. And the more of you that leave a comment, the bigger the show gets. And it's kind of like I was beginning to think, I'm being a bit cheeky. You may never have heard this podcast before, and there's me straight away, telling you, go and do this, go and do that. But it's not like that at all. I'm going to read you a few of the comments that I've had, and then after that, I'll tell you why, I want you to get in contact and leave something. So we've got, excuse me, I just had a little burp, Liam. Yeah, here's a few of the reviews that have been left. Somebody's put, they gave me 5 stars. Everybody, all 8 reviews have given me 5 stars. And the first one said, really like the variety of this show, which keeps a fresh from episode to episode view.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, different every show, basically.
Yeah. Another one, warm, professional and engaging was the headline. 5 stars again. And it says here, check this out.
They've been listening to the wrong one.
Yeah. Experienced radio presenter Mark Jeffrey delivers a charming mix of music, interviews and personal anecdotes. Anecdotes. His background shines through in his obvious comfort behind a mic, whether solo or with guests, and the obvious attention to detail that goes into the production and sound quality.
How long did it take you to write that one?
This one is well worth your time. That was nice.
No, that's a lovely one.
And that was from Behind the Box Set, a podcast there.
Oh, that's excellent.
Another one, an engaging listen. One of the most genuine solo podcasts. Mark sounds really happy to talk to all his guests, which makes it a fun listen.
I think so.
The music interludes are great and makes this podcast one to relax to.
That's lovely, isn't it? It's nice to hear.
Very impressive, 5 stars. Interviews with some really interesting guests from all walks of life and some new music recommendations too. Mark is likeable and engaging. A great show to listen to whilst driving. Lots to keep you entertained.
Excellent.
Yeah, and the best one is at the bottom here, and it's got here, and it is from Drew from Canada. This dude has a pleasant outlook, presents informative content, and sounds like Hugh Stevens, and looks like him also. Get in there, ladies. Do I look like Hugh Stevens?
Lovely.
Who is Hugh Stevens? Isn't he that dude from Radio 1? Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Hugh Stevens, I think he's that one from...
we'll check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
But no, that's really good to
So,
hear.
like I say, that's just a few of the comments that you at home have got on iTunes and left. And, thank you very, very much for doing that. Now, the reason why I'm asking you to leave the reviews isn't me being cheeky and asking. Well, it is, but the reason why I do it is that, I believe that every week, this little podcast that me and Liam does, I believe that there's a few people out there that week in, week out listens to this podcast that sort of like gives them a bit of a cheerful half an hour to an hour. There's lots of shit going in the world that we don't want to be dealing with, and people get stressed out. And like I've said to you before, and I think you'll agree with me, Liam, this podcast, I'm not in it for the money. I don't want the money at all. If it happens, yeah, lovely. But this podcast is mainly to give you at home half an hour to an hour of fun every week, cheer you up, hopefully, and to take the stress out of people's life. And I feel that of all the people that listen to this show, if it stops one person jumping off a bridge and keeps them cheerful, one person possibly stop them committing suicide, or anything like that, then I've achieved something. You know, I'm happy. You know, like I say, I'm not in it for the money. So why am I asking you to leave a review? Well, the reason why I'm asking you to leave a review is iTunes. The more reviews and comments that iTunes receive, right, the more promotion they give to a podcast.
Okay.
So what I'm getting at is I'm asking you at home to please get on iTunes and leave a little comment. It doesn't have to be long, or it can just be 5 stars or whatever you think. Leave a little comment, because the more reviews and comments that I get, there is going to be more and more promotion. More and more promotion. It means that one person that could have possibly listened to this podcast and had a chuckle and saved them from jumping off a bridge, that could actually be 2 people. You get where I'm coming from?
I do, mate. And it's good to read feedback as well, because if there's anything that you've been thinking of doing that someone says you might want to try this, or, you know, any ideas, it's good to get feedback, mate.
Yeah.
Always.
So, guys, please get on iTunes, type in the Mark Jeffrey Podcast Show, find me on there, and please leave a review on iTunes, and, you know, and let's get this podcast out to people all around the world and cheer people up, get everybody happy, cheerful. Listen to some nice music, listen to me and Liam drinking good coffee, vaping good vapor and stuff.
Yeah.
And get in contact with us, jaff10@hotmail.com, and you can tell me and Liam what you would like us to talk about.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Coming up on, I think it's the 30th of September, is International Podcast Day.
Yeah.
What's
right.
that all about, Liam?
Well, it is basically to celebrate art, and I think it is an art form of podcast, because it's not radio, it's not just pre-recorded stuff. You know, there's a lot of thought goes into a lot of the podcasts that are released. But podcasting has been around for about the past 13 years in its current format. And in 2014, National Podcast Day was celebrated with 6 hours of live broadcasting. So basically, it's bringing together people who like podcasting and people who do podcasting for one day of celebrating it and highlighting it. And I guess in the same way you said about leaving feedback, if people know about this day, they might have a look at getting into it, listen to some podcasts. It's a big business. I think we forget really how big podcasting is and how many people make their livelihood and make their money out of podcasting now.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we used to be radio presenters and we've come from radio to podcasting, and there's lots and lots and lots of people out there that, I mean, I listen to Radio 5 Live, always have, and I've now started listening to the daily Radio 5 Live podcast. So all of these big stations now, they are actually doing their own podcasts, and there's lots of money coming from, big sponsors. I mean, we're independent podcasters here, but you've got huge, big podcasters out there, people that just do a podcast with 12 people working behind them, one person doing the advertising, the other person editing. You've got big people now investing loads of money into podcasting. So podcasting is big. So 30th of September, we will be celebrating International Podcast Day. And you can look it up, hashtag International Podcast Day.
And on Twitter, again, we'll be using that tag, hashtag International Podcast Day, and that'll tie in everybody who's celebrating it, and people will get to see other podcasts and other shows and explore a bit of podcasting.
So check it out. Check it out now. So what are we going to be doing for International Podcast Day? Well, in all fairness, I haven't really thought about it until today. And I thought, well, we've got to do a little something. So what I think possibly, now this is a possible because I have got a very, very busy life and I'd have to speak to the lady upstairs, the one that should be adored. No, the one that should be, adored. Yeah, the other half. Yeah. I'm going to ask
Very
her,
diplomatic.
Yeah, and we've been talking about just setting up my adult after hours podcast where we get a table and we sit 4 people of different genres, different interests, whatnot, around the table, and we put some drink in the middle of the table and a bowl of nuts or something like that, or some pigskin. What do they call it?
Some
scratching.
Some nutters.
And basically we get all of them together and we just have a few drinks and we have a chat and the podcast goes on until we get bored. So it's going to be about between an hour to 3 hours long podcast.
3 days, maybe.
So me and Liam have been talking about doing this for a while, but it's just getting round to doing it. So what I visage and what I'm aiming to do is I'm aiming to record this on September the 30th, which is International Podcast Day. And we'll hopefully do it for people around the table, and then I don't know when it will be, but that I'll edit it and get it out to you ASAP. So that is what my plans for the 30th of September International Podcast Day is going to be. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll happen.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, guys, get out there, type in hashtag International Podcast Day. That is on the 30th of September 2017, and check out what is going on around the world. And please support your podcasts. Yeah?
Yeah.
We are a member of the Britpod scene.
We
Check
are.
it out. Hashtag Britpod scene. Check it out. Liam, topic of the week. Have you got anything there in front of you?
Well, do you know what? I've completely forgotten, actually. All this talk of coffee.
Here we go.
All this talk of... Yeah. I was going to have a look at something. Now, this is very unprofessional of me.
I'm used to it by now.
No, no. Let's see what we were having a look at. Bear with me. Just whistle amongst yourselves. Yeah, right. We'll go with that one. It's a one that I was thinking about. Cyclists. Now, quite a bit has been made recently about a young man who actually hit a woman, killed her, and I know that's obviously very sad.
What, he hit a woman with his bike?
With his bike.
Yeah. Is it a chopper?
It was a bike. It was a bike that...
woman was knocked to death by a man's chopper.
Don't know where to go from here.
But yeah, sex people.
So the cyclist was called Charlie Alliston. He's been sentenced to 18 months over a fatal crash. Now, one of the worst things about it, aside from the fact, obviously, that she's
dead,
sadly died, is he showed no remorse in any of it. He was just a cyclist and the shrugging of the shoulders. But should cycling be regulated more? And it's something I think around the world, some places it is, and there's a very certain set of rules like there are for car drivers. But is it that we haven't regulated cycling enough, or is it that we haven't got enough places for cyclists to properly to use?
I've got one word for you. Psychopath.
Psychopath.
I'm not saying that the bloke was a psychopath. I'm saying psychopaths.
Yeah.
I mean, in our local city of Plymouth, there used to be, I don't know if there is still anymore, but there used to be lots of paths just for cyclists.
Yeah.
Should all cities have them? Should everywhere have them? Just a specific road just for cyclists.
I watched The Thing, and it sounds like a real geeky thing to watch. Hello. But it was like an 80s information video thing that was just on YouTube about London. And obviously it was in the early to mid 80s where they'd spent millions on cycle...
Giant Fatburgs.
Yeah, they should have. On cycle lanes and stuff like that. And the thought that had gone into cycle lanes and how they merged with traffic. And now, people just cycling down pavements. And we are really quite overstretched in this country with police. There's no one to police, the towns and cities, let alone stop everyone who's riding a bike. But it could, kill anyone.
Bikes are very, very dangerous things.
They are in the hands of dangerous people, I suppose.
Yeah, choppers. Remember choppers?
Your big chopper.
Did you ever have a chopper?
I did never have it. No, I had a BMX.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What sort of BMX with it? What colour tyres did it have?
One black, one white.
But yeah, that's a good one, Liam. Bikes, I did see on the news the other day about this bloke that was riding his bike and somebody opened up the door of the car and knocked the bloke out. He had a big cut down his head, I mean, it works both ways, Mate, it's not just cyclists knocking pedestrians over. People, don't see cyclists. Remember the old Get Yourself Seen advert years ago in the 80s? Was it a bit before your time?
A little bit, but I remember
Take
the kind
a
of...
bike if you like to get yourself seen. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think people are as bad as each other. It's no one, cyclists are to blame or car drivers or pedestrians, because there's idiots in all walks of life, innit? And it just happens that some have bikes, some have cars. But yeah, when you see cyclists riding round when it's getting dark and they're just wearing black and there's no, black suit or black jacket and there's no lights on, you're going to get hit.
Should they be taxed? Should they have MOT?
Well,
should they have their bikes checked? Freaking right they should.
I think they should, but then they're going to expect fairly quickly to have specific areas where they can ride. If we're a country, or a lot of the, Norway and Denmark, Sweden, places like that, where they've actually got the proper infrastructure, you go down a road, they've got a special roads just for cycle,
Do you know what extracts the urine from me more than push bikes?
No.
Old people on those freaking mobility scooters.
They can be dangerous.
To the extent that now old people aren't even using the mobility scooters, it's the young that's using them, just pissheads.
Mate, it can be dangerous. They can go what can they can do 30 miles.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're driving your car down the road and there's some old dude in the middle of the road on a mobility scooter, and he's like, he hasn't paid road tax, he's not insured. If you smashed into the back of him and killed him, who would be to blame?
No.
So, yeah. Good one, guys. Mobility scooters and cycles. Tell us what you think about them. jaff10@hotmail.com. Anyway, we've got to freaking get out of here now. It's that end of that show. Monday nights. I love Monday nights because Monday nights is when we record our podcast here on the Studio in the Hill. And again, tonight, we have not wrote any... didn't plan anything on this show tonight, what we've talked about. I just jotted a quick few notes down when Liam got here, and we've just randomly talked about rubbish. And I'm quite enjoying this. Monday nights, I love Monday nights.
This is perfect.
It's podcast recording night, and I absolutely love it. I'm not too keen on Tuesday nights, which is editing night, and Wednesday nights and stuff. But Monday nights is the shit. So thank you once again for listening to episode 29 of the Mark Jeffrey Podcast Show. Please, please, please check out my webpage, www.jaff10@simplesite.com for this week's links and show notes. Look me up on Instagram, the Mark Jeffrey Podcast Show. I am also on Twitter. I'm a Twitter twat @Jaff10. We're on FaceAche and we're also on iTunes. So please get on there and leave me some reviews and some comments. It really, really does help. And all of the links mentioned on this episode will indeed be on those domains. Please leave me those comments, guys. Please, 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 please. And if you are a band or any Tom, Dick and Harry that fancies appearing on my podcast, please send me an email, jaff10@hotmail.com. And don't forget, the Mark Jeffrey Podcast Show is now a member of the Brit Pod Scene. You can find us by hashtagging Brit Scene. Thanks once again, Liam.
You're welcome, sir.
It's been a real honour having you here.
Thank
you for the coffee. Really nice.
I'll bring some more in.
Looking forward to next week. I wonder what Liam's going to bring in next week for us. Any last words, Mr. Ham?
Keep your bikes off the pavement.
And get yourself seen. Time to wrap this podcast up. Don't forget to look after yourselves and those around you. Treat others as you wish to be treated yourself. And remember, your life may not be as crazy as you once thought it was.